السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. We finished from Surah number 37 named Surah As-Saffat, ASS AFAT, Saffat, and we finished the ayat or section talking about the rewards of the people in paradise. We reached ayah number 46, which talked about a pure cup of drink that looks like wine, but it is not wine. It doesn't have the effects of wine, but it has a pure, delicious drink. Okay. Okay. We will restart. So, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ba'd. Last time we finished with ayah number 46. Yes, 46 from surah number 37. The surah name is As-Saffat, ASSAFFAT. And that section is talking about the rewards given to the people of paradise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among the people of paradise. After the previous section talked about the people of hellfire and what they face of trouble in hellfire. So here it's talking about giving them some type of a drink from pure wine. That is ayah number 45. 46 is talking about that this drink, this wine, is white and delicious to the drinkers. And then ayah number 47 describes it as this kind of wine. It does not have any kind of hurt, abdominal pain, headache, sin, sickening, impairing of the mind, all intoxication. It doesn't produce any of what is associated of this life as wine, of impairment and headache and pain. So, and then ayah number 48, it talks about, and this ayah number 47, is consistent with the ayah we mentioned in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah that tells us that Allah provides people in paradise with stuff and things to eat that is similar, fruits that are similar to, appear to be the same, like the same fruits in this life, but it is absolutely different. Okay? Food and drinks in the hereafter do not cause you to go to the bathroom, do not cause you any health issues. It does not impair your mind or influence your energy. You are always youthful, you're always energetic, you're always optimistic. You have nothing to worry about. So among that is what is called wine, but it is not the same as the wine of this life. And the ayah number 47 clearly says that it does not have any negative effect like the wine of this life. Okay. And for them and with them, they will be accompanied by chaste females, chaste women, if you will, restraining their glances, who do not gaze at you know, anyone other than their designated husbands. And in paradise, by the way, we are told that your husband and your wife in this life, if you had lived a good life, and if both of you receive the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you together, and the wife in this life will be and look and seem much, much better than whatever she was in this life. Even she will be better than what is called Hur al-Ain. Hur al-Ain are females in paradise that are created and made specifically for paradise, but people who are married in this life, they will get to have their wives and husbands if both of them end up being in paradise. But neither the husband nor the wife in paradise will be bringing with them the bad attitudes, the frowning, the friction, the nagging, none of that. She will be most beautiful, and the husband will also be most beautiful for her. And they will be better than anything else that people would look forward for. Okay. Some people raise a question as if it is something negative about the Quran talking about paradise in what is regarded by material people as sexual terms. The Quran is putting sexual enticement for people to be good in this life. But the Quran, as I mentioned before, spoke of paradise having rivers of honey, rivers of pure water, rivers of pure wine, rivers of a lot of other drinks. And those rivers run underneath your feet, right in front and beneath your mansion. So you don't have to go far to get the drink you like. And you are served by young children who are either created for service in paradise or young children who died as young before they become mature and required to believe and practice. They are brought up in paradise. They will look like pearls. They will look like pure young boys and young girls who are going to be serving everybody in paradise. So there will also be fruits and gardens, right? And so for people to nitpick on talking about wives in paradise and all of that, they should also have commented on enticing people by fruits, enticing people by service, enticing people by drinks. But they are not picking on that. They are nitpicking on the Quran, bringing issues that could be interpreted as sexual or attractive or desirous. But the Quran is talking to us humans, considering the fact as to where we live, what we are acquainted with, and what we love of this life. So the Quran tells us clearly that it has been made beautiful in the eyes of people, all people, Muslims, non-Muslims, believers, non-believers, to love women, children, good horses, good cars, all of the sources of pleasure for this life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, but in the hereafter, those things and more will be available for those who are mindful of Allah. So the Quran is talking to us about all the attractions of this life and what are the alternatives that we may have. So if it happens that somebody doesn't care much about food and drinks and living in a mansion, but he cares only about women, Allah is not going to deprive them of what they are looking for. Okay? So the Quran is talking to us as humans, touching on our basic needs and basic hopes and desires and feelings to entice us to be obedient to Allah. It is not that Allah is luring us to be sexual. We are created with this desire embedded in us as humans. And that also tells us something, that our desires for food is not going to diminish or die with us. Our desire for intimate relationships is not going to die or diminish after we die. Those desires will continue to us because we are going to be resurrected also still as humans. Nobody said that we are going to be angelic. We are going to be resurrected as humans. So if being a human includes those desires, then Allah is serving those desires in paradise so that we don't feel that paradise is less pleasant than what we have in this life. I hope that this answers this false question that entices false reasoning and false conclusions. Then the Quran talks, ayah number 49, describing is somebody asking a question? I'm sorry. Oh, could we please ask everybody to silence their, to mute their mic? Thank you. So the Quran is describing those females created specifically for paradise as kind and pure, okay? And they are well preserved. They have not been touched by anybody before their husbands in paradise, okay? People in paradise will be discussing issues as they turn to each other to entertain each other and entertain themselves. So they will be asking some questions to each other. So some of them will say to one another and say mutual questions. One of them, as ayah number 51 is saying, it says, a speaker of them will say, indeed, I had a companion in the previous world. I used to have a friend, and this friend used to tell me, are you among those who believe in resurrection after death? Do you believe that we are coming back? Do you believe that after our bone decayed, that we are going to be created? And number 53, do you think that when we die and become dust and bones, that we shall indeed be raised up again, and then our works will be weighed for us, and we will be either rewarded or punished according to our deeds? Do you believe that? Then the speaker turns to the rest of his group in paradise, and he would say, please, please, everybody look down. And then he looked down and he saw his friend in the midst of the fire. The friend who used to belie and deny resurrection. So he tells him, he directs the talk to him. He says, by God, by Allah, you have nearly ruined me. You have nearly doomed me. I would have been with you had I followed you. And had it not been for the grace of my Lord, I would certainly have been among those brought forth to hell. Imagine the discussion. Why is Allah bringing those discussions forward to us here? Because He wants us to understand the magnitude of the seriousness of our fate. that it's not an easy test. It is not, forgiveness is not easy, and sinfulness is not going to be seen as easy. Denying resurrection is a grave sin. It is kufr. It is disbelief. So the discussion continues. The person in paradise, ayah number 58, is saying to his friend in hellfire, are we then not to die except our first and only death, right? And we are not going to be punished. We are not going to go through accountability. He is rebuking the false claims of his previous friend that used to tell him that stuff. So he's rebuking, he's saying, do you still believe that? Haven't we been resurrected? Haven't you gone through accountability before landing yourself in hellfire? Isn't this what you used to deny? You used to reject when I advised you. And then he turns to his friends in paradise and says, indeed, this is the supreme success. This is the greatest success. And in this statement, the person who is talking in paradise is also talking to us here. That's why Allah is capturing this discussion that happened in paradise, that happened in hellfire, and you realize two things. Number one, that the person in hellfire is not answering. He's not answering. How could he answer? He's silenced. His argument that he used to brag about in this life is futile. It's useless and it's helpless. So he doesn't have an answer, because the questions the person in paradise is asking are self-answerable. These are rhetorical questions. He is rebuking him, telling him, aren't we going to be resurrected? Isn't this what you used to tell me? Weren't you about to pull me down with you into hellfire? Had I listened to you? Had I followed your discussion and your argument? If I had fallen victim to your discussion, to your argument, I would have been with you. So the person in hellfire is absolutely silent because there is nothing to say. Also, the person in paradise in ayah number 60 is defining what is great success. The great success in this life is to land yourself in paradise, which means the greatest success is to be saved from hellfire. The greatest success is to believe in Allah and to follow his book and to follow his prophet. So that definition is very important. Implicitly but clearly also, without saying it clearly, he is saying that the greatest failure is not to be poor in this life. The greatest failure is not to be sick in this life. The greatest failure is not that someone dear dies. The greatest failure is when we land ourselves, God forbid, into hellfire by our deeds, by disbelief, and by our wrong choices. So as you see here, one statement in ayah number 60 gives us a lot of information. And Allah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I got choked. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capturing this series of questions raised by the person in paradise in a rebuke format to the person in hellfire. He is capturing all of this for us to remember that day and to make a decision as to where do we want to be. Do we want to be with the friends of the people, of the person in paradise, or do we want to be with the other side? God forbid. Also, one thing to note here, that the questions that the person is talking about, he is talking about what happened between him and his friend in the past tense. You were about to ruin me. You nearly doomed me. You nearly called me into the curse of Allah by calling me to denial. He's talking about the past. So does this mean that people are already in hellfire or paradise right now? No, people are still in their grave. They wouldn't get there until after resurrection, after accountability, after being judged. So how come Allah is giving us this discussion as if it had already happened? Very good question, isn't it? It is, because the answer also will be very amazing, because Allah does not live like us in the constraints of time and place. Allah is not waiting for the day of judgment to come, for people to stand in line to be judged, for people to be sent to paradise and hellfire, for people to get to paradise and hellfire, to know what is happening. Allah does not live within the constraints of any of his creation, whether it is the earth, the sun, the planets, the cosmos, the heavens, anything, the time, the place. He is the creator of all of this. So for him, the day of judgment has come and gone. People are already in paradise and hellfire. Those who are being in the joy and the pleasure and the care of Allah in paradise, they are there, and the rest, they are in hellfire already. So for him, he is giving us a glimpse into the very far future that is beyond even death and resurrection and judgment, until people face their fate. And he is telling us what they are doing. You see how amazing the Quran is? It takes us from before our creation until we are created, and who was the first human being, and where did he go, what happened to him, and what Allah has guided him to do or not do, and what happens even to prophets that came before us, to nations and communities that came before us. So Allah is the ultimate witness over everything in the past, even before creation, and everything in the future, even after death, resurrection, and judgment. And you only could see this in the Quran. The only place you could get this information is right here in our hands. This is also to show us how important the Quran is. If I tell you that there is a scholar who could tell you where are you heading after you die, what's going to happen to you in the grave, you would want to get a ticket and travel all the world over to meet that person. It is in the book that you have in your hand. It is in the Quran. Allah says, those who believe and do righteous deeds will end up in paradise. Those who deny and do evil deeds, they will end up in hellfire. So there is nothing secretive about where you are heading. Everything is in a clear book that we all could read it. Even if Arabic is not your language, the Quran has been translated into hundreds of languages today. It is very difficult to find a place or a language that the Quran has not been translated to. So this set of ayat bring us not the memory, but the future events that should make us reflect now and make the right decision, take the right direction. In this regard, the second caliph of the Prophet, Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, hold yourself to account before you are held to account, referring to the Day of Judgment. He also continues to say, put your deeds in the scale of the Quran before they are put on the scale on the Day of Judgment. Because there is no other life after death except a life in paradise, and you taste some of that in your grave, or a life in hellfire, and people will taste that also in their grave. So very wise statement from Umar ibn Khattab. We should heed it. Put our deeds in the scale and ask ourselves, is Allah pleased with me? Is what I'm going to do pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So here is the man raising those rhetorical questions, right? And then making a conclusion saying, this indeed is the greatest win ever. And then he tells his friends, for the like of this fate, let the workers work. For the life in paradise, right? Let people work. And for this day, let people prepare and work for this day. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raising several rhetorical questions to give us even the judgment for our own selves. In ayah number 62, he says, is this, referring to paradise, is this better entertainment and better pleasure, or the tree of horrible hellfire tree? It is called the tree of Zakkum. The name signifies choking, burning, fire in your throat, fire in your chest. You cannot swallow it, you cannot touch it. So Allah is saying, after hearing what happened between this person in paradise and what people in paradise are enjoying and what people in hellfire are suffering, is this not a better place to be? Is this a better place, or is the hellfire tree, the horrible tree of hellfire, is a better place? And then ayah number 63, Allah is saying, indeed we have made it as a trail for the wrongdoers, the disbelievers. We have made it a trial. We have made it as a test and as a punishment for the wrongdoers, the disbelievers, the criminals, the unjust ones. And then it goes on to describe this tree. It says, certainly it is a tree that springs out of the bottom of hellfire. The shoots of its fruit stalks are like the heads of the devils. This is a very scary type of tree, if you could imagine it. The scene is very scary. The description is very, very awful, very difficult. And then ayah number 66, it says, they, meaning the people of hellfire, they indeed will eat thereof and fill their bellies therewith. They will be filling their stomach from it. Why? Because nothing else in paradise, nothing else will be offered for food. Okay? And as you will see, there is not any pleasant drink to cool it down or no. The drink will even be boiling water and boiling oil. May Allah save us from hellfire. Ya Allah, save us from hellfire. Ya Allah, save us from hellfire. Ya Allah, save us all from hellfire. So people will be eating from that tree, filling their bellies from it, and they will have on it a drink of boiling water, boiling oil, so that it becomes a mixture of boiling water and oil, and also the kum tree, which is the awful tree. Then ayah number 68, then verily thereafter they shall return to the flaming fire of hell. So people who deny Allah or deny his book or his prophet or disobey him, they are really going to face terrible fate. Then here is the indictment. Okay, the indictment list comes with several issues. Ayah 69, it says, certainly they found their fathers on the wrong path. They found their fathers going astray, doing the wrong things, holding on to false beliefs or wrong beliefs. And number 70, so they too made haste to follow in their footsteps. Why do people follow on the footsteps of their parents? It is because of the pleasure they get from what they are doing. Because basically we know that even young children, when they don't like what their parents are doing, they do their own things. And what is the age of rebellion against parents? It is a teenage. This is the age when people reach the point of puberty and rationale and reasoning, the age of responsibility, right? And this is the age of rebelling against one's parents if they are heading wrong or if they are doing something wrong. So as much as children at that age, the age of adolescence, can rebel against their parents, if their parents do not let them do what they want, then they should also make a choice of faith and guidance that will make them happy in this life and in the hereafter. So this is very important. This is very central. Then ayah number 71, it says, and certainly most of the people of old went astray before them. So this is one item indictment, right? The next item is in ayah number 72 and ayah number 73. And certainly we sent among them warners in the form of messengers and prophets, and we sent unto them books and guidance. So it is not only that people went astray following their parents, that's one thing, but it is also that they pushed against the prophets and the messengers and the books and the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then ayah number 73 says, then see and look what was the end and the fate of those who were warned, but did not heed the warning. So the indictment is saying they were warned and they did not heed the warning. One may raise a question and say, what about those who did not receive a prophet? Well, by now, by the technology that we have today, everybody knows where all ideas are, even though it may be only negative information that surfaces the most, but people know that there is a religion called Islam, there is a prophet named Muhammad, there is a book that is called the Quran, and that this is the final revelation, and they need to make a choice. It is on people to study this. But people who did not hear it at all, or only heard negatives about Islam, so they did not appreciate it, those will be up to Allah. They have to go back to Him eventually, and they have to bring a good reason as to why they did not believe. But their sin, their disbelief, will be our sin, our silence when it comes to communicating the message to our neighbors, to our relatives, to our parents, fellow human beings that are around us, is going to be our responsibility. We will be answerable to Allah about it. And they will point to us. They will say they lived with us for that long, but they never even gave us a copy of the Quran to read. They never pointed us to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to also take responsibility for what we're doing and for what we are not doing. Ayah number 74, it says, all of this will happen to the people of paradise. And then it says, except for our righteous, faithful, obedient servants. Those are exempted from all of these troubles that people of hellfire will go to, and people who deny Allah will go to. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful not to abrogate our responsibility and not to deny people the right to know the message. They have a right on us to know the message and to understand what the message is for. And if we do not deliver the message today and people die as disbelievers, they will hold us accountable to what happens to them. So now the ayat from 75 on will give us some stories about some of the prophets. In this section, very short mention of those stories. And those short stories will start off with the story of Prophet Noah. Just a few ayat about every prophet. So if you look at ayah number 75, it says, and indeed Noah called on us, and we are the best of those who answer his request. Here is Allah encouraging us to follow Noah and to ask him, because he's the best of responders. Our first point of seeking help should be Allah. Our first point for seeking mercy, Allah. For seeking forgiveness, Allah. And this is what this ayah is telling us. When Noah knew that it was tight, his people are attacking him, they wouldn't believe, including his son who refuses to board the ship with him. It was so harsh. It was so hard on him. And Allah says, we are the best of the ones to answer. So he calls on us, and we are the best of answers. As 76, he says, and we rescued him, we saved him and his family from the great distress, the drowning and the punishment and dying as disbelievers. Allah saved them from all of this. And we have made his progeny as the survivors, those who outlived, okay, to produce the rest of humanity, okay? And we left for him a godly remembrance or reminder among generations to come in later times. The reminder has been the Ark of Noah, the story of Noah, the story of the flood, and where all things happened. Then ayah number 79, it says, peace be upon Noah. For us, Allah saying, among the world of mankind and jinns, he is given peace by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And then ayah number 80, it says, certainly it is as such that we reward the doers of good. Those who are righteous and doing righteous deeds, we give them the same reward, which means Allah saying, if you face trouble and you pray to Allah to save you, Allah will answer you and will save you. And then it gives the reason. Why did Allah save him? Ayah number 81. Noah certainly was one of our believing servants. He was among our believing servants. Then Allah says, ayah number 82, and then we drowned the rest of them, which are the disbelievers and the polytheists and those who deny Allah and deny his message. I think we can stop here just because I have to go to my class, but maybe you can use a few minutes to take a couple of questions if you have